Hope you guys are doing absolutely well and it's a beautiful day. And we're not talking about the Asia Cup final because I was just going through my thoughts and I thought, okay, we have to talk about Team India. There are very interesting points before the World Cup, but we will do that. That's a series that is coming up. We'll be talking about all the major teams, their plus, their minuses, what they may do in the World Cup and all those things. The thoughts will be just, I'm not going to refine them. We'll just put it out as it is. But right now, this topic is from a different conversation. So there are friends who love football. There are friends who love basketball and tennis and cricket, athletics. So I had this different conversation with different friends and I was having this conversation and my friend actually asked me, who is your favorite tennis player? The question was very specific. The question was actually not, who is your favorite tennis player? We were talking and he was asking me, okay, we were talking about Nadal, Federer and Joker. So among these three players, who is your favorite? That was a specific question, which the answer was very, very easy. The question is not who is the best player. The question was very specifically who was my favorite player. And like I said, I like the kind of energy which Virat Kohli and Cristiano Ronaldo, Rafael Nadal, they actually, belong to the same categories. So the answer was very straightforward, very simple. It's Rafa, my favorite among the three. But is he the best? Roger Federer, like Lionel Messi, is a more natural talent. He's like poetry. So Rafael Nadal is more of great and that fighting spirit and let's come on, bring it, working hard, that kind of a thing. And Novak Djokovic is actually the mix of both these worlds. So if I really can't pick who is the best player among the three, but if you're putting a gun to my head and give me a name, I would say Joker. Novak Djokovic, like I said, is not as fluent or as poetic or as natural as Roger Federer is, or doesn't have that. He is a fighter, but Rafa has more fight in him. But Novak Djokovic has the best of both these worlds. So if I have to pick, it's a difficult one and the margins are really, really, really small. But if from my perspective I have to pick, I will pick Novak Djokovic to be the better, by the slightest of margins, a better player among these three. But the question is not that. The question is, who is your favorite? And among the three, it is Rafael Nadal. There's no confusion for that answer. But then it got me thinking, who would be my favorite top 5 tennis players of all time? I mean, from the moment I've been watching tennis, I've seen the earlier videos of Boris Becker, who I really like, but no, I was not watching the game when actually Boris Becker was playing at his peak. So let's get started. Number 5, Serena Williams. Serena Williams, along with her sister Venus, changed the way tennis is played. Many would argue that they changed the way ladies or women's tennis is played. I would disagree. I would say they've been an inspiration, not just to a particular gender, but to the tennis world in its totality. And Serena Williams is a player that I've enjoyed watching and I've always supported her. So, number 5, Serena Williams. Number 4, Andy Roddick. Andy Roddick, the first thing that actually I fall in love with his game was the aces, the number of aces, that the power game that Andy Roddick brought in. But also, Andy Roddick brought in that kind of a fearlessness. I mean, the ones who have followed the game will know his second serve. Roddick was really, really special and I totally enjoyed watching him play. Number 3 is Rafael Nadal. Yes, Nadal is not on top of my list, so you guys would be wondering. So Vishnu was talking about his favorite among the three and Rafa was the top name that came in. So who would be the top 2? I'll get there. But Rafael Nadal, I don't have to explain why, because the name itself is actually quite satisfactory. Why Rafael Nadal is my third favorite tennis player of all time. Now it gets interesting. Now I'm going into a territory which is not maybe names which may not be at the top of most people's favorite players ever list. Number 2, Juan Martin Del Potro. He was something else. I loved watching him play. Very rare occasions when Federer and Joker is playing and Nadal is playing and some other player comes in and I want them to win. That was definitely the case with Del Potro, and I really believe that the bad injuries actually took a big, huge chunk out of his career, the heights that he could have reached. But when on song, Del Potro was so much fun. I still remember, I think it's the Australian Open, wasn't it? Or was it the US Open? Where he decimated Rafael Nadal 6-2, 6-2, 6-2 in the semi-finals and then went on to beat Federer in the finals, I guess, and winning that Grand Slam. I mean, he was something else. He was very charming. So 2 is Juan Martin Del Potro. Number 1. This is a very different choice. I'm not sure because this player was not very popular. He was not on top of the popularity list. But before we get into the number 1, there's this one name that I have to mention. Let's say an honorable mention to Goran Ivanisevic. He was a player that I really enjoyed watching. So, but it's not Goran either. The name is a Russian player called Marat Safin. Safin was very different. His game was very different, but I really enjoyed his game. If Safin was playing, I wanted Safin to win. He has a couple of Grand Slams in his name. He was a former world ranked number 1 player, but I still believe he could have actually won plenty more. His attitude was crazy. At times he would press the self-destruct button in between a game and then he would lose it all, throw it all away. But his game was super strong. He was a kind of a player that really the top guns would like to avoid. It was special. I liked the vibe that Safin brought in. He was very different. Like I said, he was not on top of anyone's popularity chart, but I somehow was. There was some connect with Safin's game and his energy off and on the court. I somehow, there was something that connected me to Marat Safin, and he would be my number 1 favorite tennis player of all time. So that's a list. My top 5 favorite tennis player. It's kind of a toss-up. That means, if you're really not sure who could be your favorite, or if you're having difficulty with your choices, then you're putting a coin up. Then the coin is in the air. They say, you would be praying for, oh, please be this. I mean, that is this list. This is not a list based on skills. Then I think there will be a different total list if I am picking up the best players from my perspective to have ever played tennis. That would be a totally different list. And I think only Rafa would actually make that list. Yes, Serena Williams, of course. But that would be a different list. That would be a list that may feature Sampras, Agassi, and the likes. A different list. But this is my favorite list. The list that I've enjoyed. And, if this player was playing, I wanted them to win. That kind of list. So, who is your favorite tennis player of all time? Just give me one name in the comment section. That would be appreciated. So until next time, this is Radio Baba signing off. Over and out.